All right, so this week we'll do the male reproductive system. There's the male reproductive organs, and we'll talk about these. All right, let's start with the testes. Testes are the primary sex organ for males. The testes themselves are surrounded by a tunica albuginea, which is just a fibrous connective tissue that encloses it. The mediastinum testis is that posterior thickening of the tunica albuginea, and it forms these septa, which, as they enter the rear portion of the posterior testis, to divide it into lobules. There's about 250-ish per testis. Each lobule has 1 to 4 seminiferous tubules in it, and the seminiferous tubules collect in the rete testis in the mediastinum, which is on this next slide. Okay. So the rete testis become the epididymis, which just stores the sperm. The epididymis turns into the ductus deferens, and they're the cells, which are just specialized epithelial cells in the seminiferous tubules. The spermatogenic cells produce the sperm. Sustenacular cells support the spermatogenic cells, and the interstitial cells produce testosterone. So, descent of the testes. Before a baby is born, before a male baby is born, the testes will descend, usually by the 8th month. So anywhere from 1 to 2 months before birth, the increase in testosterone causes the testes to descend. This gubernaculum is a cord that goes from the testis to the scrotum. So the scrotum is down here, and this gubernaculum attaches that. And it helps to pull the testes from the posterior parietal peritoneum through the inguinal canal and into the scrotum. So this is that pulling. This vaginal process is just a pouch of the peritoneum that forms portion of the scrotum. So this will form the scrotum. If it remains open, though, you can get a hernia called a indirect inguinal hernia. And if the intestine gets in there, then it gets constricted, and you get a strangulated hernia. Formation of the sperm cells. Spermatogonia. So we'll start down here, and we're going to work our way up here. So the spermatogonia are just these undifferentiated sperm cells. And then when they go through mitosis, you get a spermatogonic cell. So you get another cell that's just like the original one. And those are called type A cells. And then you get a type B cell, which is a primary spermatocyte. You have to have the type A cells to replenish these spermatogonium cells. So, because if it divided, went through mitosis and divided, and both cells became primary spermatocytes, you'd run out of these spermatogonia cells. The primary spermatocytes will divide into a secondary spermatocyte, and then this is really meiosis So this is meiosis happening from here to here and here to here. This is meiosis 2 happening there. And the spermatocytes form spermatids, and the spermatids will develop into sperm cells. Okay, so if you remember from your biology or from A&P 1, when we talked about the difference between meiosis and mitosis, this primary spermatocyte goes through meiosis to become these. This is also a review from then. So remember that you get 23 chromosomes from mom. So let's say these red ones are from mom and the green ones are from dad. These are homologous chromosomes or homologous pairs, in that let's say we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Let's say this is chromosome 16. This would be 16 from mom, this one right here, 16 from dad. During S phase, 16 from mom makes a copy. And that makes these two sister chromatids because they're identical. 16 from dad made a copy also. So now dad has his sister chromatids. When I say 16 from mom, I mean the man who's making these sperm, this is chromosome 16 that he got from mom, and this is chromosome 16 that he got from dad. Sister chromatids, which is what this one is and this one is, are exact copies of each other. Homologous pairs, which are what these two are, or homologous chromosomes, carry the same type of information. So maybe this is 16 from mom and this is 16 from dad. Let's say that hair color is found here, and your mom gave you a brown hair gene and your dad gave you a blonde hair gene. Hair color for dad was here. I'm not saying that that's where hair color is found. I'm using this just as an example. So let's say this is hair color for mom and hair color for dad. And let's say down here we've got eye color. So eye color for mom, eye color gene from dad. During crossing over, the homologous pairs, the homologous chromosomes, can exchange pieces of them. This helps lead to genetic variability because now if the sperm that this man's going to make, if it gets this chromosome, it'll get mom's hair color and mom's eye color, but this one will get mom's hair color but dad's eye color. So crossing over just leads to genetic variability. All right, the actual sperm cell structure. Sperm are microscopic. They have three main parts: the head, the body, and the tail. The head is flat and oval-ish, and the head is where the chromosomes are found. The acrosome has enzymes. One of those enzymes is hyaluronidase, and that enzyme helps the sperm to enter the egg. The body has lots of mitochondria, and it also has the motor for the tail, because this is really just a flagellum. So it has the flagellal filaments. The tail have the microtubules for the flagellum. Immature cells, sperm cells, form in the seminiferous tubules, and then they mature in the epididymis. Okay. Oh yeah, and the body is called the midpiece. All right, male internal accessory organs. It's all these ones. Okay, talk about the epididymis first. Epididymis, just a tightly coiled tube. It's connected to the ducts within the testis, and it's going to help promote the maturation of those sperm cells. Oops. Vas deferens and seminal vesicles. Vas deferens are just muscular tubes. They're a little less than 50 centimeters long, so they're pretty long, 45 centimeters, I think the book says. And it extends from the epididymis all the way onto the ejaculatory duct. So it's going to extend from epididymis here all the way to the ejaculatory duct, which is right here. Seminal vesicle attaches the vas deferens, attached to the vas deferens near the base of the bladder. Pointer's not working. So here's the seminal vesicle. The seminal vesicle just secretes an alkaline fluid, and that fluid has lots of fructose in it and prostaglandins. And we'll talk about what they do. But, well, the fructose is there to nourish the sperm. It's an alkaline fluid to help offset the acidity of the urethra, and the prostaglandins help with vaginal contractions once the sperm enter the vagina. And like I said, those empty into the ejaculatory duct also. Prostate gland. This is the prostate gland. Only men have them. Prostate gland has a high pH fluid, and it removes the sperm in the waste and helps to neutralize the low pH of the vaginal canal. When the prostate contracts, helps to cause the release of sperm from the ductus deferens and the seminal vesicles. It's really surrounding the beginning of the urethra, and the ducts open into glands into the urethra. Has a thin, milky alkaline fluid that also helps to enhance the motility for the sperm. Okay, that's the prostate gland. As men age and get past their 40s, their prostate glands do enlarge, even without cancer. And I mean, I forgot the exact number, but most men who make it in their 70s end up with some sort of prostate cancer. All right, bulbourethral gland. Down here, it's bulbourethral glands. It's just inferior to the prostate gland. Also, mucus-like fluid in response to sexual stimulation. It's kind of a clear fluid for lubrication, but it's not very effective. The female version of the bulbourethral gland is much more effective. All right, semen itself is the fluid that comes out during ejaculation. It's 2 to 5 milliliters. Has about 120 million sperm per milliliter. So you're looking at 600 million sperm. 600 million sperm for each ejaculation if you're on the 5 milliliter side of things. It's slightly alkaline fluid, and it has secretions from the seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and bulbourethral glands. There's also nutrients in there for the sperm. All right. Male external reproductive organs is its scrotum and the penis. So the scrotum is just a pouch of skin with subcutaneous tissue. There is that dartus muscle in there, and the dartus muscle is a smooth muscle. It's in the subcutaneous tissue, and it contracts, which causes the scrotum to wrinkle, and it can contract to pull the testes closer to the body to keep them warm, or it can relax to keep them further from the body, to keep them cool, because the sperm have a very specific temperature range. Also within the scrotum, you get the medial septum, which divides the scrotum into the two chambers, and each chamber is lined with a serous membrane. Keeps the testes separate. And each of those chambers has a testis and an epididymis. Let's see. Penis. Penis has this. We're going to look at this cross section. This is kind of a tough picture to look at if you're a man, to be honest. But so this is the dorsal side and the ventral side, so the top and the bottom of the penis. The corpora cavernosa, which are these two chambers, has deep arteries. And the corpus spongiosum, which is this chamber, is the ventral side. The urethra passes through here, and it's also covered with this tunica albuginea. The superficial dorsal vein and deep dorsal vein and dorsal nerves are all up here. Okay, and so we'll talk about what these are, but these cavernosa, and we'll talk about this in a second, are what fill with blood to make the penis erect. Okay, an erection. Erection comes from the parasympathetic nervous system. An erection is really just blood accumulating in the erectile tissues. So sexual stimulation leads to the parasympathetic nervous system release of nitric oxide in the corpora cavernosa and the corpus spongiosum. That nitric oxide dilates these arteries, which also helps to constrict the veins. Okay. An orgasm is emission, and it's really the culmination of sexual stimulation. So the orgasm is emission and ejaculation, I should say. The emission is when the semen moves into the urethra. And so it's the sperm, prostate fluid, seminal vesicle fluid. Ejaculation is a movement of the semen out of the urethra. And it's largely dependent upon those sympathetic nervous system impulses. So, and then after ejaculation, the sympathetic nervous system causes reduced blood flow to the arteries, and then the erection goes away. Okay, and this pretty much talks about what we just talked about. Same thing here, maybe a little more of the peristaltic contractions. There. Hormonal control of male reproductive functions. This is kind of a review from the endocrine system, but the big player here, as normal or as usual, is the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus is what controls the maturation of the sperm cells and the development of the male secondary sex characteristics. We'll talk more about testosterone in a second. But actions of testosterone, you get increased growth of body hair, sometimes decreased growth of scalp hair, which is interesting. Enlargement of the larynx, thickening of the vocal cords, which accounts for why men generally have deeper voices than women, thickening of the skin, and increased muscular growth, thickening and strengthening of the bones. Generally, the negative feedback here is controls the concentration of that testosterone. So control testosterone levels. Testosterone inhibits gonadotropin releasing hormone production by the hypothalamus. So if you have enough testosterone, you'll stop releasing gonadotropin releasing hormone, okay, which will then inhibit the anterior pituitary releasing luteinizing hormone, and which will then keep the testes from releasing testosterone. Testosterone also inhibits luteinizing hormone production by the anterior pituitary. Okay, so that's it for the male reproductive system. And next week we'll do the female reproductive system.